So you started your journey in Nikke, and now that you've settled on the basic mechanics in the game, it's time to maintain your progress and make sure you try not to make any mistakes. My name is Psyche, and in this volume 2 of my detailed series of guides called Cummander Bootcamp, I will be teaching you how to avoid some of the most common beginner mistakes so that you can efficiently progress in the game and min-max your time as a new player with these simple tips. This video will also serve as a soft tutorial on how to proceed past the new player phase. So strap in and listen up, because here are the most common beginner mistakes to avoid. At number 1, we have spending gems carelessly. Gems are one of the most premium currencies in Nikke. I know that as a new player, the game will be showering you with them, but once the supplies start to dry up, your free income of gems will be a bit more limited. The game has a lot of ways to bait you into spending gems. If you played other gacha games like Genshin or FGO, you know that the same currency that can be used to roll the gacha can also be used to refill your stamina. While there's no stamina system in Nikke, using gems to do anything other than rolling on the gacha is generally advised against. The game has a lot of ways to tempt you, even if it's just a little bit at a time. You can wipe out and gain 2 hours worth of materials for a measly 50 gems every day. This sounds good on paper, since you get to progress faster, but since how much your outpost defense generates is dependent on how many campaign levels you've completed, this deal doesn't actually get worse or better over time. You can also spend some gems to reroll liberation missions or shop items. This is absolutely not worth it at all. When you get far enough into the game and unlock liberations, there is a mission to wipe out 2 times. I actually just don't do this mission. If it's one thing I learned from playing other gacha games, it's that any gacha currency spent elsewhere would mean potentially missing out on a brand new SSR that could expand your roster. However, I do think there are some cases where using gems outside the gacha can be considered. One instance is by resetting the level of a unit. This only costs 10 gems, which is actually not bad. In fact, you kinda have to do this once we start talking about the 160 wall, which is possibly the biggest progression barrier during your time with this game. The other place where I would say spending gems is acceptable is by unlocking more slots in the synchro device. It's 500 per slot, which is a little pricey, but in exchange, you get to instantly match a new unit to the power level of some of your strongest. But keep in mind that you can get some free slots from progressing in the Tactics Academy. The second most common mistake is leveling everyone. I know how tempting it is. You get a shiny new SSR in the gacha, and you just have to put some levels into them. But because of the synchro device, you don't actually have to do that. I briefly mentioned this in my beginner's guide, but I'll expand on it here. There are 3 tiers of Nikke: R, SR, and SSR. R rarity units cannot be limit broken, so their highest level cap is 80. SRs can be limit broken up to 2 times, meaning their highest level cap is 160. SSRs 3 times, meaning their level cap is 200. When you get duplicate of SR units, make sure to limit break them and increase their cap to 160. Given that SRs are not actually rare, you'll be able to max limit break all of them in no time. You then want to level 5 SR units and only those 5 units. Because of how the synchro device works, every Nikke placed into the slots will match their level to the lowest of your highest 5 leveled units. By investing into only 5, you actually get to reach the power potentials of your entire roster faster by doing this. But now that I might hear you asking, wait, but if SRs have a max level cap of 160, what happens if you level all 5 units to 160? Well, that is what the community calls the 160 wall. The only way to push through is to level 5 max limit broken SSR units so that your max cap becomes 200. I'll probably make a separate video explaining the 160 wall and how to break through it. But for now, you do not need to level everyone you get. Number 3, buying datasets. Don't worry, I made this mistake myself. I heard veteran players at the time telling others to not buy datasets and only prioritize core dust. But I didn't listen to them. After all, I was only a bit short from leveling my unit to the next level. This is something that may seem like common sense, but from a late game player's perspective, I'll just show you instead. They say a picture is worth 1,000 words. I have over hundreds of millions, thousands of dataset bundles stocked up, and I have no way to spend them. This is because when you eventually reach the late game, your synchro device will look like this. Instead of leveling your highest 5 units, you level the device itself, and everyone in the slots will also be leveled. Okay, what's the big deal here? See, to level the device once past level 200, you need to spend 10,000 core dust each time. Given that there is a huge imbalance between the amount of datasets or credits you get versus core dust, this material is going to be what gatekeeps late game players from making progress. Meaning that while getting datasets can seem advantageous in the short term, when you're in it for the long haul, always, whenever possible, pick the core dust bundles instead of the datasets in those reward boxes. Your future self will thank you when you reach the later stages of the game. Now, I know what you might be wondering. What about credits? To this day, I never really had a credits shortage because it's not exactly used anywhere else in large quantities except for leveling gear. But even then, gear leveling materials tend to be scarce, so you'll probably run out of those before credits anyways. Now, it is possible that in the future, they may introduce a currency conversion mechanic. In that case, things probably will change. But for the time being, sniff that core dust every time. Number 4. Opening up your material boxes immediately. You'll get these boxes or bundles that can give you a certain currency. While it may seem gratifying to open them up right away, it's actually advised that you only open them when you really need them. First, we'll need to understand how the boxes work. Each box will have a number on the top, indicating how many hours of that material your outpost defense currently generates. So for example, this 2-hour core dust box will give me 104, because my current outpost defense generates 52 an hour. So this box is worth 2 hours of that. This means your box actually gives you different amounts of each currency depending on how much progress you made in the main campaign. Since new players tend to power through levels really fast, you're actually missing out on potential resources. My advice is that you push the campaign, and when you get stuck but is close to beating the level, use the minimum amount of these boxes to level up your units and continue on with the campaign. Number 5. Ignoring the Tactics Academy. Now, I know this thing is like tucked away in a small corner, but the rewards you get from this is more important than you may think. When you complete all of the lessons, you get permanent upgrades to your base and resource collection efficiency. These obviously have big long-term benefits, so it's best to max it out ASAP. In order to get the blueprints to construct the buildings, go to any campaign chapters you've completed and find all the small hidden nodes that unlock stuff. There will be guides online that tell you where all the nodes are, as some of them are not very visible. You'll unlock the lessons to get those permanent upgrades. If you can't find a certain blueprint, it's likely that it's hidden in a future campaign chapter, so keep a lookout for them when you're going through the story. Number 6. Spending skill manuals too carelessly. I know, leveling a unit skill only takes a few manuals. I personally know some players that level everyone's skills to level 4, since that's the point where you need a bit more materials. It's tempting because leveling a unit's skills also increases their combat power, and it just looks good for that number to go up. While this is partially true, this single number does not determine how strong a unit truly is. There are many factors other than the base stats that allow your Nikkes to excel. The truth is, not every skill scales well with leveling it. If you looked up guides online, you can see that certain skills should actually get priority over others since they're more impactful. Now, you get the higher tier upgrade materials when you progress further into the game anyways, so it's unlikely you'll have anyone's skills leveled too high. But in case you ever regret it, there are certain times in the game where they give you skill reset tokens, where you get a refund on your materials for a particular skill. These aren't given out that frequently, and they do expire. What I'm trying to say with this tip is that the combat power of a unit is not the be-all end-all. There are many other factors like teams, synergies, and in the late game overload gear that can determine how strong a unit is. Not every skill should be treated equally, so spend your manuals wisely. At number 7, we have falling for bad trades in shops. When entering the shop, there are many things that you can buy with various currencies. When you search up which purchases are worth it, you'll find that not all products are sold equally. So I'll go over which ones that are actually worth it. In the general shop, get the freebie daily item. Do not buy any items costing gems, it's just not worth it. The only worthy purchase requiring credits, in my opinion, is the single core dust box that it sometimes sells. Remember that you can reroll the shop once per day for free when you upgrade the infrastructure core to a certain point. Then get the freebie again. We're practically stealing from them. In the Union shop, the major things to focus on are the batteries that level up your Harmony cubes. This is one of the places where you can actually get these. So by participating in Union raids, you'll be able to make progress on them. This may be a little controversial, but when you start the Liberation minigame, where you can get certain SSR units for free, you can buy their spare bodies to limit break them. I honestly don't think it's worth it. They said that they'll rework the economy sometime in the future because assuming that you score averagely in the Union raid, you actually have to participate in 3 or 4 raids in order to buy one of these, meaning a max limit broken Liberation Nikke will require like a year to accomplish. Meanwhile, some of the Harmony cubes get more useful as you approach the late game. So in my honest opinion, these are the things you should be buying. Body label shop. This is another trap. Do not buy the consoles. Get the SSR molds instead. This should be the only thing you buy here. The consoles are ridiculously expensive and you need a lot of them to level up once. Meanwhile, the molds, while having a janky RNG system, does allow you to occasionally get more SSR units and progress faster. Arena shop. Buy the skill manuals, but not the gear. I don't care how many thumbs ups they put here, the best quality of gear you can get at any point is always in the interception boss mode. Avoid this trap at all costs. Mileage shop. I'll explain in a future video about the gacha, so we'll ignore this for now. In the co-op event shop, you kinda can get everything, though I will personally get the gems and then whatever materials you might need. Okay, so that was some of the most common mistakes that I see new players to Nikke can make. Hopefully I was able to reflect my own experience playing this game so that other people do not make the same errors and have a smoother time progressing. Next time, we'll be taking a look at team building in more detail and showing you how to build effective teams on your own. To end off this video, I guess I have one last common beginner mistake to avoid, and that is you never, ever play this game in public. Thanks for watching, and always remember, have fun with the game.